Hello, my friends. In this video, we will talk about food insecurity, along with what it is, why it is, and how we can help. We will include interviews with experts who have done extensive research on the issue of food insecurity and experienced firsthand what it feels like to live on a minimal food budget. So make sure you are subscribed so that you don't miss out on future videos explaining other important problems that affect our world. And without further ado, let's get into the video. Food insecurity is an issue that many are aware of but are oblivious of the devastating impacts on communities and the sheer amount of people that this issue affects. It is defined as a state in which individuals do not have reliable access to enough affordable, nutritious food to live a healthy and active life. This definition applies to an astonishing amount of people and families around the world. The United Nations states that in 2022 alone, 3.1 billion could not afford a healthy diet. 2.4 billion people were experiencing moderate to severe food insecurity. Out of those, 900 million were experiencing severe food insecurity. These statistics are staggering, as almost half of our total population was unable to access good nutritious food. The numbers continue to rise year after year, with an almost 3% increase in food insecure people between 2022 and 2023. Here is what Zachary has to say about food insecurity.
So food insecurity is basically not knowing where your next meal is going to come from. So if you're food insecure, you don't really know, hey, I'm going to have this for dinner. Many people go to bed hungry. They don't have dinner or they don't have breakfast. So people skip these meals because they can't afford the food to cook them, or they're working lots of jobs so they miss out on the meals.
Food insecurity is most prevalent in regions that have high levels of poverty, conflict, political instability, low levels of education, experience severe consequences of climate change, lack water, and have a high fertility rate. This encompasses many nations in Asia, Africa, and Latin America. Food insecurity in a specific region can be measured and predicted based on many factors. The main one is poverty, since nutritious food is generally more expensive, meaning that people will have a hard time accessing it. Another method to measure food insecurity is obesity. Along the lines of poverty, people who cannot afford nutritious food have to resort to buying cheap, highly processed, unhealthy foods such as canned products, fast food, and snacks. These foods are usually high in fat and unhealthy oils, resulting in obesity. The quality of life can also be taken into consideration when measuring food insecurity. Zach says,
also, another metric is obesity. The foods that make you obese, the things that are higher in fat, higher in sodium, higher in calories, are actually cheaper than foods that are actually going to nourish you well. And so, for example, fast food, that's really, some family, that's all they can do because it's very cheap and it's very quick. It saves a lot of time. Because if you have a place where food insecurity is rampant, where there's a lot of people who can't afford food or can only afford fast food, then that obesity rate goes up.
As Zach says, people in areas plagued by food insecurity often have to choose between buying food or other amenities such as housing. But why is all of this happening? Food insecurity comes from many different reasons. These reasons include poverty, wealth inequality, government weakness, conflict, unemployment, low wages, inflation, natural disasters, the cost of living, discrimination, the lack of food sources, unsustainable practices, and much, much more. Out of these, poverty, environmental factors, and conflict are the biggest factors that play into food insecurity. Poverty is important because people cannot afford good, sustaining, nutritious food without adequate money, especially when inflation is taken into account. People also need to pay for other necessities such as shelter, water, healthcare, and education, creating a dilemma where the choice between food or other needs arises. Poverty also creates wealth inequality, making it so that the more privileged people take up all the resources since they have the money. Here is what Zach has to say about poverty.
And supply and demand, if the supply goes down and the demand goes up or stays the same, which is definitely still high, the price goes up, which makes it harder for people with less money to get and buy food like daily. And also good food, that's also important. People don't have enough, sometimes people don't have enough money to buy nutritious food. Like organic vegetables and fruits are more expensive than like processed things that aren't as good for your body. So that's a very big thing, is the money and how wealth inequality plays into the ability to get the food.
Environmental factors, including climate change, is detrimental to communities in terms of food. Climate change brings about more natural disasters that destroy infrastructure which exacerbate economic loss, meaning that there is less money available for food. Drought and flooding destroy agricultural food sources, creating food and water shortages for the people reliant on them. Finally, conflict is another main reason for food insecurity. Conflict creates refugees who are forced to leave everything behind and escape to another region where they have to start from the bottom. Conflict also uses up a lot of resources, meaning that there will be less resources and food left for regular residents of a region, and any remaining foods prices would rapidly inflate. Conflict makes it difficult for people to access food from other sources, since transportation and shipping become exponentially more costly. Despite these circumstances, there are still things to be done to help with food insecurity. We cannot completely remove food insecurity since poverty will always exist. Climate change will never go away. Conflict is fated to happen no matter how developed our world is. But we can take action and help the people affected by food insecurity. Zachary will tell us some methods that we can use to help.
And you're like, hey, I want to help the people that I care about, but how do I do it? But in this situation, there are so many ways to help. You could donate, you could volunteer. Like, if you have the capability of donating and you don't have the time of volunteering, donating is the easiest option to take. So, it's not like you can't do it. You can. So people need to shift their attitudes and help the people that are in need.
We can mitigate people's suffering through donations and getting more people to know about this problem. As more and more people understand the true implications behind food insecurity, less people will experience the effects. So share this video with your friends, and together, we can make a difference.